Hello, my name is Subyan. In here, I would like to present about my part in this presentation, which is about introduction, and the last part is conflict resolution in Rwanda. So, the first one is about humanitarian intervention meaning, which is there are two meanings in here, which is in general, and the second one in international relation perspective. The first one is humanitarian intervention in general. Humanitarian intervention in general can be interpreted as an effort to stop or prevent human rights violation by military force in a country, either with or without the approval of the country concerned, or the country experience internal conflict. The second one is in international relation perspective. Basically, the definition of international humanitarian is the same and has many broad understanding. In IR can be interpreted as the deployment of military force to other countries for the purpose of protecting other citizens from violence, and there are at least two types of humanitarian intervention, which is military intervention does not necessarily involve humanitarian issues, but humanitarian intervention is often preceded by military intervention. In line with that, ICISS also defined humanitarian intervention as action taken against a state or its leader without its or their consent for purposes which are claimed to be humanitarian or protective, including all forms of preventive measure and coercive intervention measure, sanction and criminal prosecution falling short of military intervention. And the last part is about conflict resolution in Rwanda. So basically there are three resolutions. The first one is negotiation, the second one is meditation, and the last one is conciliation. Negotiation has meanings which are the most basic way of resolving dispute used by the community. And meditation is a way of resolving dispute through a mediator or a third party. And the last one is conciliation, which is a way of resolving dispute using a passive form, namely negotiation and deliberation to find common ground between parties to the conflict.
Okay, now I'm gonna present my part. It's about the background of the genocide. Now, first, we need to note that 85% of Rwanda are Hutus, which is the majority. But the minority Tutsi has long dominated the country. In 1959, the Hutus overthrew Tutsi monarchy, and tens of thousands of Tutsi fled into their neighboring countries. Now, after this, a group of Tutsi exile formed a rebel group called the RPF, or Rwanda Patriotic Front, which invaded Rwanda in 1990, and there's constant fight on that during that time until 1993 when there's a peace deal agreed. Now, not long after this peace deal was agreed on in 1994 of 6 April, the plane carrying the president of Juvenal and his counterpart Siferian of Burundi, both Hutus, was shot down, killing everyone on board in that plane. The extremist group of Hutu blamed the RPF and immediately started a well-organized campaign of slaughters. However, the RPF said that this was a conspiracy that the Hutus who are actually shot down the plane. Their action is just to provide an excuse for the genocide. Now, after this, a list of government opponents were handed out to the militia, who went and killed all of them who are in the list, along with their family members. At these times, neighbors kill neighbors, and some husband even kill their wife when they realize they are from different tribes, like they're from Tutsi, they're from Hutus. They don't care; they just kill it. Uh, After and at the time, the ID card of Rwanda people have the tribe where they came from, if they are Hututsi or Hutus, and because of this, militia set up a roadblock where Tutsi were slaughtered if they are known in their ID that they are from the Tutsi, often with a machete that most Rwandans keep at their house. Now, at this point, thousands of people died, and thousands of Tutsi women were taken away and kept as a sex slave by the military groups. Now, weapon and hit lists were handed out to the local group who know exactly where to find their targets. Like, it's just a common hitman ground, if you can say. Uh, that the genocide, it's so bad that even the priests and nuns are convicted of killing people, including who sought shelter in the churches. So basically, nobody's safe, even in the place of God. Basically, by the end of this, no, I'm sorry, I haven't done yet. Now, the well-organized RPF, backed by Ugandan army at this time, gradually seized more territory until 4th of July in 1994, when its force marched into the capital's Kigali. Some 2 million Hutus, both civilians and some of those who are involved in the genocide, fled across the border into the Democratic Republic of Congo, at a time called Zaire, fear, fearing a revenge attack. Others went to neighboring countries like Tanzania and Burundi. Human rights groups say RPF fighters killed thousands of Hutu civilians as they took power, and more after they went into DR of Congo to pursue the Interhamwe. Now, we're gonna talk about the international actions. There's a few actors on this one. The first one is the UN and the Belgium. The UN and Belgium had forces in Rwanda, but the UN mission was not given a mandate to stop the killing. A year after the US troops were killed in Somalia, the US determined not to get involved in any another African conflicts. The Belgian and most of UN peacekeepers pulled out after 10 Belgian soldiers were killed. So it's just like my soldier died and I need to back out. That's basically it. The French, who were allies with the Hutu government, sent a special force to evacuate their citizens and later to set up a supposedly safe zone, but were accused not doing enough to stop the slaughter in the area. This charges later denied by the government of Paris. So I think that's all for my part. Now we may continue to my friend.
Then the next explanation is about the humanitarian intervention in Rwanda. According to the Carrie Grimstead definition about the humanitarian intervention, it is the interference one by one or several states in the internal affairs of another state to prevent a situation where the most basic rights of the people of the state are violated. From this definition, we can find that three elements or the point of the humanitarian intervention. The first one is the act, and then the actor, and the last one is the beneficiaries. Next is the humanitarian intervention in Rwanda. During Rwanda genocide in 1994, members of the Hutu ethnic majority in the East Central Africa nation of Rwanda murdered as many 800,000 people, mostly from the minority, which is Tutsi. The Rwanda genocide was the result year of tension and conflict between two ethnic groups, the majority and the minority, which are Hutu and Tutsi. And then the tension appeared at the end of the 19th century when the Rwanda population was separated into three distinct castes. The first one with the ruling Tutsi, about 1400, 14%, and for the Hutu, which is 85%, and the last one is the Twa, only 1%. Furthermore, the genocide is said to have begun on April 6, 1994, when the airplane carrying Hutu President Juvenal of Rwanda and President Cyprien of Burundi was shot down just outside of Kigali. The killing was carried out by the Hutu Rwanda Army Interham and the party militias, which targeted not only Tutsi but Hutu opposition member, Hutu moderates, media critic, professional, and other who opposition member or who oppose the Hutu supremacist regime. The genocide as the exclusive concentration on the mass elimination to all Tutsi did not begin until April 12. In the 100 days follow an estimated already 800,000 women, men, and children were killed in that genocide. The actor involved between Hutu and Tutsi. By the early 1990, Rwanda, a small country and developing agricultural economy, had one of the highest population in Africa. About 85% its population was Hutu, and the rest is Tutsi, and the smallest one is Tua. Rwanda colonial period, during which the ruling Belgian over the minority Tutsi over the Hutus exacerbated the tendency of few to oppress the many, creating a legacy of tension that exploded into violence even before Rwanda gained its independence. A Hutu revolution in 1959 forced as many as 330,000 Tutsi to flee the country, marking them even a smaller one. When the airplane of the president Hutu and Tutsi was shot down in the capital of Kigali in 1994, it's blamed that determined who culprits were, and some have blamed Hutu extremists, while others blame leader of the RPV. Then the next is the action of interventionists. The mass killings in Kigali quickly spread from the city to the rest of Rwanda. The first 2 weeks, local administration in central and southern Rwanda, where the most Tutsi live, resisted the genocide. After April 18, national officials removed the resistors and killed several of them. Other opponents then fell silent or actively led the killing. Officials rewarded killers with food, drugs, and money. Government-sponsored radio stations started calling on ordinary civilians to murder their neighbors. Within 3 months, some 800,000 people has been slaughtered. Meanwhile, the RPV resumed fighting and civil war raged alongside the genocide. By early July, the RPV force had gained control over most of country, including Kigali. In response, more than 2 million people, nearly all Hutus flew Rwanda, crowding into refugee camps in the Congo, then called Zaire, and other neighboring countries. After its victory, the RPV established a coalition government similar to that agreed upon at Arusha, with the pastor Bizimungu, a Hutu, as president Paul Kagame, and Tutsi as vice president and defense minister. Habriamanas, an army party which had played a key role in organizing the genocide, was outlawed, and a new constitution adopted in 2003 eliminated reference to ethnicity. The new constitution was followed by Kagame's election to a 10-year term as Rwanda's president in the country's first ever legislative election.
And the last part is about conflict resolution in Rwanda. So basically there are 3 resolutions. The first one is negotiation, the second one is meditation, and the last one is conciliation. Negotiation has meanings which are the most basic way of resolving dispute used by the community. And meditation is a way of resolving dispute through a mediator or a third party. And the last one is conciliation, which is a way of resolving dispute using a passive form, namely negotiation and deliberation, to find common ground between the resolution of the Rwanda conflict. There are 2, which is peacekeeping effort by the UN, and the second one is peace building effort by the UN. Peacekeeping effort by the UN, that is by signing the Arusha Accord. The Arusha Accord is an agreement signed in Tanzania under international pressure aimed at shaping peace from a crisis and civil war that occurred in Rwanda, which was followed by almost all parties involved in it. At this stage, the UN also formed the UN Assistance Mission for Rwanda, or UNAMIR, which has a task to help implement the agreement that had been made. And the second is peace building effort by the UN. As we can know, the genocide in Rwanda ended on July 1894. After the end of the genocide in Rwanda, the UN established an ad hoc judicial body tasked with prosecuting a perpetrator of human rights crimes and taking responsibility for genocide. The process after peacekeeping, which at this stage that is the form of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, which is ICTR, was formed as a body that had role in the final stage of building to achieve reconciliation in Rwanda. So in here, I would like to present both the last part, conclusion. Conflict that occurred in the country of Rwanda are classified as ethnic conflict. The conflict between the Hutu and Tutsi is rooted in feeling of revenge from the past Belgian colonialism. Belgium created social stratification by choosing the Tutsis as the holder of power and marginalizing the Hutus. This then affects the welfare of the Hutu tribe, which is the majority tribe in Rwanda. The climax, when the decolonization and re-administration can be captured by the Hutu tribes, is the right moment to take revenge of the Tutsis until it leads to genocide which take up to hundreds of thousands of lives. So, the role of the UN is conflict resolution carried by the UN in the form of peacekeeping aims to maintain a ceasefire so as to create conditions conducive for negotiation. But the UN effort was considered a failure because the genocide persisted in Rwanda and even led to the withdrawal of troops from Rwanda by the UN. The UN, in particular, the UN Security Council member countries are reluctant to deploy additional troops in the interest of peace in Rwanda because they have no interest in the country of Rwanda. This is in sharp contrast to the aim and ideals of the UN Charter, namely to realize and maintain world peace.